Good day, everyone, and thank you for joining us in Hyphens Haven, the space for multi-hyphenate artists who work on stage and off, in front of the camera and behind the scenes. We share our paths to becoming who we are. Today, I'm honored to spotlight a Denver-based artist who has served the entertainment industry as a computer-generated special effects artist for film projects such as The Avengers, Iron Man, Transformers, Battleship, Prometheus, Fast and the Furious, and more. He also has worked as a motion graphics designer, creating commercials and promo work for various television networks, which include TNT, TBS, AMC, Cartoon Network, MTV, BET, and others. Currently, he is serving the news industry, and in 2020, he received an Emmy Award for Best News Campaign. So please, everyone, I am so happy and thrilled to introduce this multi-hyphenate artist, Geoffrey Crowell. Hi, Geoffrey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, as we want the audience to get to know who you are, we always like to start at your genesis. Can you tell us who your parents are or who loving you raised you? What were their names and their professions?
Okay, well, with me in particular, it wasn't just with my parents. It expanded to my great-grandparents. So pretty much in my coming up, everybody was in the picture. So my mother's, her name was Mariella Crowell, and she basically was the hardest working person I ever known. And she never had a college degree, but she managed to have like great careers. So when I was younger, her first career was she was a district manager for a retail store. And this was like in the 80s. I mean, at that time I didn't think nothing of it, but as I look back, I'm like, wow, that's an amazing feat, especially at that time for a Black woman, you know. So yeah, and that was like her first career, like from the 80s through the 90s. And then her second career was she worked in theater. She worked at the Denver Center for the Performing Arts as the marketing manager. And through the years she was there, the theater company at the time got a lot of notoriety nationally and even won a Tony Award at that time. So she was very hardworking and she did a lot of things. She even while she was working in the theater, she kind of like bridged the gap between the Black community in Denver and theater and got them more involved, you know, participating in all of what the theater was doing. So yes, that was my mother in a nutshell. My father, his name is Ron Crowell. Him growing up, he was actually used to be a basketball player. He was really good through high school, like won the championship in high school. And then in college, he held like the scoring record for his school. And then his plans was to go on a professional level, and he was actually drafted, but because of his injury, he couldn't pursue the professional career. And after that, he was very much into work within the community, you know, helping, you know, at-risk youth, helping mentally disabled patients, and he was just all around. He had his hands on like every type of industry out there, and he was a hard worker as well. He also was involved with one of his brothers' work, and his brother ended up becoming mayor of Denver, Colorado through the 90s. So my dad was very much working with him in that, helping him with his campaigns and stuff. So that was my father in that nutshell. My father's dad, my grandpa, his career was he was a engineer for GE working on the NASA space program in the 60s. And he was one of the only Black men in that position. So he was very intelligent, and yeah, he was the type that could like fix anything, and that was how I remembered my grandfather. My my mom's mother, she was very talented all around. She had all types of jobs, and her main talent was singing. And she was a professional jazz singer, and where she would perform would be in the historical jazz district in Denver, called the Five Points. And she was like, uh, yeah, she was a performer on there, like on weekends and stuff. And people say she was like really good. I never heard her sing personally, but everybody who said they heard her sing was like blown away. And then, you know, and then on top of that, there was my great grandparents. My great grandmother, she worked for the government, but she was very much an entrepreneur. She had her own like hair salon, and her husband, my great grandfather, he worked in the government as well. He was a World War II veteran, and they very much had the mind for entrepreneurship and owning property and building wealth basically for the whole family. So growing up, I was exposed to all of that, all at once. So I was very much blessed to have that kind of thing. It wasn't just the parents, it was like the whole village, basically.
And it was a village in which everyone had their own excellence and just passed it to you and gave you this strong foundation to stand on. That is fantastic. So do you recall a very happy family childhood memory?
Yeah, very much. It was a happy childhood. Yeah, it was just, just being exposed to all of what was going on. I mean, everybody's kind of doing something, and and it was big, but growing up, I didn't really think anything of it until I got older and realized what they were doing, and because growing up, it was just family. But no, it was a lot of good memories growing up, and yeah, it was a good childhood.
Okay. Well, let's go to your early learning days, your elementary school. What was the name of your elementary school? And did you have a favorite teacher from that time?
So, growing up in elementary school, I went to various schools. I went to one school called Hampton. That was for preschool. And then I went to another school called Rose Hill. And that was for kindergarten and first grade. And then after first grade, I moved to California because my mom, as a retail district manager, took a job out there. And the school out there was called Ernie Pyle Elementary. And I was there from the second grade to the fifth grade. And then after, I'm sorry, the fourth grade. And then after the fourth grade, I moved back to my hometown in Denver and finished out the fifth grade in elementary school. So it was quite a journey. You were asking about the teachers? Is that what you said?
Yes. Did you have a particular one that really loved on you, maybe saw a special talent?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, there was one particular teacher in mind. It was fifth grade. His name was Mr. Tassone. And what he was a former athlete and turned teacher. And one of the coolest things he did was he personally took me and a couple of the students to his college. And he went to University of Colorado, and like I said, he used to be an athlete there and everything. And yeah, it was like one weekend he took us down there and just kind of showed us like the whole campus, like the whole, like, he exposed everything about college. And I was in fifth grade, and that was like the first time I've ever seen that. And and of course took us to the football game, and it was just an all around great experience. But yeah, he was one of the teachers that whatever I was doing, he supported, and he was like all about it, like whatever I was doing. So
That's great. This show, we want to always recognize the teachers that help lay that groundwork for the artists. Emmy, as a elementary school teacher myself currently, I love to make sure that we mention those teachers. So now that you are transitioning out of elementary school, you had this great fifth grade teacher, you move on to middle school. Where did you attend? And was there a particular teacher in middle school that saw something special in you and wanted to nurture it?
So the middle school I went to was called Kearney Middle School. This was still in Denver, and it was still in the same school district. And it was by luck that it wasn't so much the teacher in middle school, it was the principal. So the principal of the school, his name was Larry Nichols, and Larry Nichols happened to be my mom's high school teacher, back in, because my mom went to the same district, growing up, and in her high school, her teacher slash track coach ended up becoming the principal of the middle school I went to while I was going there. And yeah, I mean, he was a godsend. I mean, like I say, it was a type of school where it wasn't majority Black. I was like one of the only Black students there, but the principal was Black. But he was just a godsend. He just he looked out for me, made sure I was, doing what I was supposed to do. He was support, and he just made sure I stay out of trouble and stuff. And he also, checked in with my mom, told her what I've been up to and stuff. And no, he was a good support system, and it was lucky that he happened to be the principal of the school and stuff. So yeah.
Was there a special achievement that you received in middle school that helped propel you towards exploring that in high school? Special writing or arts or in a particular subject?
No, well, not so much in the arts. I mean, I was getting into the arts, but I wasn't like fully involved in it yet. There was a particular thing that I did get achievement for, and it was a science project. And the science project I did was like very untraditional, but I think for the fact that it was untraditional, that I got the achievement for it. But what it was is that I was doing a science experiment on which rapper would cuss the most in a record. Because it was like that weird, this was the 90s, so it was like this weird thing where rappers cussing was like really, it was like a big deal back then. Of course it's more common now, but it was like back then it was like really. And even it was to the point like parents didn't let us listen to certain type of music or whatever. But my curious mind was like, well, let's kind of dig into this. So yeah, I analyzed it and like made an experiment of which rapper like had the highest like stats on cussing. Yeah.
That's an ingenious project. I mean, I would be curious to know of the results at that time, like who had the highest cuss word, profane language count during a song. That's ingenious. So that was your middle school years. And so that now that you have this boost of like, I received this achievement as a science project, you're going to high school. What was the name of your high school? And was it there that you started to discover like, hey, I have a talent in this particular area? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so the high school that I went to was called Denver East High School. And this was a very interesting transition in my life because the previous school I went to, the district, me being a minority, it really got to me, at that time. And I was like, kind of, I was at a crossroads. I was like, I don't know if I want to go to the high school in that district because I'll be a minority, and I'm kind of dealing with that now. And I kind of want to go to a school where it's more people like me, and so I can figure out who I am as a person. And in that process, after middle school, I transferred school districts and ended up going to this high school where it was like, almost majority Black. And yeah, so that was like the first step. And then, going through high school, that's when I got really much more involved in art. I was drawing, I started painting there, and the very first painting that I did, the school actually selected it to be on display in the hallway. I thought that was cool, very first painting I ever did.
What grade were you in?
I was a freshman.
Freshman, wow.
Yeah. So while there, that's when I was really like exploring my, artistic talent. I think by the time I was a sophomore, I got into my first exhibition. It was like a student exhibition. That was a good experience. And yeah, I just kept it going, and, being involved in the art club and everything. It was good.
Were you a student that worked as well, that you were juggling work, art, and your regular classes?
Yes.
Hey, we have no guests.
Okay, so yes. I worked during high school. I worked at the store called King Supers, and hold on a second.
Bring forward. Come on forward. Oh, there he is. There's his son.
Oh, so this is John Henry,
young
4
man.
years old.
Hey. How you doing? How you doing, sweetie?
Say how you doing. Say hi.
Oh, he just look at the. Your dad is sharing his path. He is helping some people who may be interested in following his footsteps.
Yeah.
You want to stay with us? Come on, you can stay with us. He was just talking about his achievement in high school and that he was a freshman already getting some notice for his artistic talents, and even through his sophomore year. And so he's working too. Did you know your dad worked? And he's doing art, and he's handling his classwork, and he's doing all of this together. Yes, I know. It's exciting times. So now that you're working, you're juggling these things. Well, was there a special teacher in high school too? Since we gave some hellos and to your other teachers, was there a special teacher in high school that really helped to push you forward?
Yeah. Before I talk about the teacher, I was going to talk about work. So yes.
Oh, yes.
During work, I worked at a grocery store. I was a bagger, and I did that all through high school. And I mainly worked on weekends and during the week, like after school. And I juggled that all through high school, and it was good because I had money, and so I was able to, handle, graduation fees and all types of stuff, and be able to get like outfits or whatever, if I needed to. And so.
Yeah, you didn't have to wait for anybody. You can just go buy it on your own because you're a working man.
Yeah. So I was working, and it was a blessing because I was able to, pay for anything that I needed, during that time. So, but yes, during high school, I did have a teacher that was a complete blessing. I mean, without her, I wouldn't have been in the path where I am today. And she was one of those teachers that like made such a big impact on everybody. And in fact, My high school was known for like a lot of famous people who went there, and they all praised the same teacher. Um, so her name was Tamara Roan. She was my African American studies teacher. But not only did she like push you in the classroom to make sure you're on point and doing everything, she like supported you for everything. She wrote all my recommendation letters. She recommended me to be selected in various like scholarships and other achievements and stuff. Like she was like the forefront of it. She always like recommended me to whichever organization was doing something. And no, without her, I wouldn't have been in the path where I'm at today.
You mentioned that she wrote your recommendation letters. Was this to the college that you eventually went to?
This was college. College and all the scholarships I received at that time. So yeah, she was heavily involved in all of that.
Okay, what was the name of that college?
So the college that I ended up going to was called Hampton University. It is a Black college on the coast of Virginia. And
Don't touch me.
Was there a moment in your collegiate years that you really started to push your talent of art forward?
Yes. So while in college, I did major in art with emphasis in graphic design. So, leaving high school, I was definitely in a crossroads with that because I knew I wanted to pursue working on film, working on movies. That was kind of what I wanted to do. But at the time where I graduated, that wasn't as accessible, I would say. I would say that there was only like, I would say it was only like one or two schools that specialized in like special effects at the time. And those schools were like very like impossible to get into. And at the time, and and then there was the other option, like going to the art institute. But at that time I took that's where I took college classes. But I kind of didn't want to go to art institute because it was strictly an art school. It was nothing else. And I wanted like the Black college experience and stuff. So, when I found Hampton, I was like, okay, they offered art, graphic design. I was like, okay, I mean, I can roll with that, and then figure it out later. So that's what I ended up doing there. But yes, while I was at Hampton, I definitely excelled my art talent a lot. There was an art teacher there. Actually, there was a group of art teachers, and each one kind of like helped me excel to each part. So while in college, there was actually a group of art teachers that kind of like helped me push my skills all around. The first teacher, his name was Steve Prince. He was a known local artist in that area. And he basically he pushed my skills in terms of drawing and painting. He helped basically in my skill of drawing, he helped like my work stand out, like pop out, because he was teaching me things like gradients and values and stuff like that. And kind of how to draw in a more, free form and more fast pace. So he pushed me to skill at that. Another teacher, his name was Solomon. He's a KG. He's from Nigeria, but he helped me kind of look more into the deep interpretation of art, kind of like have a purpose of like when you're creating art, have like a purpose, a meaning, like what a message you're trying to address, like what is your interest, what is your style and stuff like that. So he kind of pushed that and helped me kind of excel in that direction. And And then there was another teacher, his name was Joseph Martin, and he basically taught me like graphic design, like basically from the ground up, you know. He was a very talented graphic designer, and you know, he kind of helped teach me in that transition of, you know, art to like digital. So he taught me all the software, basically how to navigate through the computers that uses like graphic design, and he kind of taught me that whole concept of it. So yeah, so while I was at Hampton, it was like a group of teachers that kind of helped me in each little aspect of it to kind of help me progress further.
Did you experience your first work, like as in someone is offering to pay you for work in college, or did that happen afterwards?
I had my first internship in college, and that was actually working at the theater company while my mom was there. And yeah, and there I was in the media department, and I was creating all the posters and print advertisements for all the plays that were being shown there. And that was a great like first experience to be able to create something to be like shown like all over the place, you know, all over the city and stuff. So that was like my first like job. I mean, it wasn't paid, it was an internship, but it was like my first experience with that. But no, while in school, I didn't have a first big job or nothing like that.
Okay. Did that first experience happen after graduation, or did you go to graduate school right after your
So, so I'll tell you my journey through that, which kind of helped, you know, put me in the position I am today. So while I was in school at Hampton, during the process, as I was graduating, I got a little discouraged. You know, there are people out there that, you know, when you try to tell them that, you know, you kind of want to do your career in art and stuff, you know, there's a lot of people that would say, well, I don't think you should do that because, you know, art you don't really get paid doing art, you know, and there were a lot of people that were telling me that, especially, you know, going to, you know, an HBCU where a lot of people favor more business or, you know, medical or law, you know, certain things over others. And, you know, hearing that as I was graduating, I kind of got discouraged with that. So I was like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I can't get paid, you know, being an artist, you know, so let me find something else to do. So during that time, after I graduated, I actually took a detour and I became a corporate banker at a known bank I went back to my hometown, Denver, and I started working as a banker at this bank. And that kind of opened my eyes more because I was deep in that corporate life and money was great, you know, but it was such a stressful job. It was the most stressful job I ever could be in. It was just that environment was just so tense, so stressful. And then me being one of the only Black minorities in the position that I was in, it was like all eyes were on me and everybody was all up in everybody else's business, you know, like, you know, it was like, and then of course all eyes were on me because they're waiting for me to mess up something or whatever. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And I did it for 2 years. So I was working that job for 2 years. And then, you know, after 2 years, I just had enough of that. And I just kind of like had this epiphany, like, you know what? You know, I can't see myself working at this job for the rest of my life, or I can't see myself doing this, you know. I was like, I need to do what I'm really passionate about, you know. I need to really pursue this, you know. And at that time, I was stuck to my direction of wanting to work in movies and stuff. So at that time, that's when I discovered that that particular field was actually more accessible now than what it was when I first went to college. And that's when I decided to go to grad school to the Savannah College of Art and Design, because at that time they just like opened that major or that department, which was visual effects / special effects for film, you know. And as soon as that became accessible, I decided to take a leap of faith, leave that job, and pursue grad school at SCAD.
That is great. That is great that you are listening to yourself, listening to that, sometimes that quiet, still voice that says, hey, you may want to go ahead and find your exit, because if you keep staying here, your energy is just going to keep coming down, down, down. So find that exit, trust yourself, and move. So you're at SCAD now. And at SCAD, that was where you were able to get back into this natural talent that you were given. Did you see another opportunity like you had before to showcase your art? What happened at SCAD?
Yes, so I went into grad school at SCAD, and this one I'm actually like doing what I want to do. Like, so I'm studying film, you know, studying animation, studying visual effects, studying motion graphics. Like this all, it's all revolved towards, you know, film and television. And so even though I was there for grad school, I didn't have any experience in any of this stuff. So I basically had to start from scratch, you know, and kind of just learn everything, learn new software, learn new computers, learn everything. So yeah, so like I was in grad school for 4 years. So it was a 4-year program for the fact that I started new. Like it would have been shorter if I knew what if I had that experience before, but since I didn't, they had like they had like a 4-year graduate program. And so, like I said, first couple of years, I was, you know, basically learning everything and kind of, you know, finding my niche with everything. And yeah, I just experienced the whole learning process. And then towards the second half of my grad school, that's when all the opportunities come. So that was the thing, like going to SCAD is like one of the top art schools in the country. And it's to the point where the companies come to SCAD. So that was an opportunity itself, you know. So I was lucky and blessed to be in that position. So a lot of the companies come there and they want to meet the students, meet all that stuff. So from there, that's when I started in Atlanta. I was, meeting and working with a lot of the local studios in Atlanta, doing special effects work and motion graphics. And then, a lot of the bigger names was coming to the school, and I was able to network with them, and they got to like know my face and see my work and showcased and stuff. And when I say that, that was like, Lucasfilm and, all the big name companies, because they prefer to go to SCAD to like meet new people. And so that was my experience in school. And then, of course, I graduated. Because of that network, I was able to hit the ground running as soon as I graduated. Like I already had jobs in line.
Oh, what was that first job?
Oh, the first job? So the first job that I did right after I graduated was for a studio called Stereo D. I was based in California. And Poor kid. He loves his dad so much. He hates being separated from him. You know. Anyway, yeah. So my first job was at a studio called Stereo D, based in California, and even though I had this like network, I still kind of had to like, do all the grunt work first. So with this one, I worked on movies that it was a lot of like during that time there was a lot of re-releases of movies that they were converting into 3D. So the first one I worked on was like Titanic. They re-released it to be in 3D, and I had to like work on it to convert it to 3D. There was like Ghostbusters, it was like Beauty and the Beast. It was like a lot of them. So I was doing that for a while, and after I got done doing that, you gotta be on your best behavior. So okay. Anyway, so yeah, as soon as I was doing like this time where I was working on all these 3D converted movies, then it was like soon as I was done, I would get a call from another studio saying, "Hey, we heard you just got done here. We're working on this upcoming movie. You want to work on it?" I was like, "Sure," So I jumped to that thing. I'll be there for like a few months, and then after I get done, the next studio would call me saying, "Hey, you want to work on this?" So it was like I was like already in that network, and but yeah, so I mean, it was great, I was just lucky, and it was just a blessing to be able to just jump from work to work. Yeah.
So to go from being a motion graphics artist, and you are working in that space on film projects, you're still working with TV networks too, or how did this all find together?
So yes. So here's kind of like the inside of working as a visual effects artist. The thing is, you work as a contractor there, and the work's spread out. Like that's just kind of like it comes with the territory, when you work as a special effects artist. It like the work's like not consistent. You work one gig, and then you will probably wait for like up to 6 months till you get another call for another film project. That was just kind of how it works on the inside. It's just not it's not as consistent. It's very spread out and all over the place. So with that, I had to figure out what to do in between the time, as I'm waiting on another movie project. So that's when I started working into motion graphics. And in motion graphics, that's more on the TV and networks area. So with that, yes. And at that time, I was working at all of the networks at Turner Broadcasting in Atlanta. And yeah, and each time I was there, I was working on, commercials or bumpers or it was like all types of different stuff promoting that particular network. Like for TNT, for example, I would do the intro to the All-Star game or something. Like they would show like the intro as they're starting the All-Star game. So that was a lot of motion graphics. If I was with Cartoon Network, I would do all the little in-between commercials for like Adult Swim, doing all their little quotes and stuff. Yeah, like, TBS, if they're promoting a movie, while I was at TBS, it was a whole TBS break room thing. So there was like all these commercials for that. And I was working on that. And so, yeah. So those were the kind of jobs I was doing in between the time, until I got a call from another, for another movie gig.
What was your challenging project to get through?
Challenging project to get through? it's hard to say because they all kind of had the same level of, complication. It's like the same workflow all around. I won't say they all were hard. It was all like a process. I mean, I was still like, up wee hours of the wee hours and up for like days and nights and working on stuff. I mean, it was a process everywhere, because that's just how it rolls, with each thing. So I don't think one was like easier or harder than the other.
I understand. So as you're in Atlanta, juggling, working on film projects and TV projects, how did the transition go for you to return to Denver? Like, was this something propelling you forward?
Okay, so the more I was doing like movie work, at that time, I was having to travel to California more from Atlanta. And it was becoming more and more frequent. And as it was becoming more frequent, it was kind of wearing me down, traveling across the country, a lot. So that's when I kind of made the decision saying, okay, maybe I should move back home to Denver, because Denver's technically in the middle of the country and it's closer to California. Because I wasn't living in California at that time. I wasn't trying to, because living in California was so expensive, and the period of me waiting most of the time, it wasn't logical to try to live there and pay California expenses. So it was better for me to be in Colorado and just travel there when the work comes up. That seemed much easier. So that's when I decided to move to Denver. So that way the commute to California would be easier.
And working in Denver, you were still able to work with area news stations, or how did you eventually come to the space of you're in news? Because working for PBS and Cartoon Network and working for films is a big transition to the news industry. How did that happen?
Well, okay. So I was basically doing that. I was working that for like over 10 years. So I was doing that, traveling and working for a long time. And basically what changed it all was him, basically. So I had him in 2018. And as soon as I had him, that's when I was kind of like, okay, all right, now I got a kid to support, and I don't think what I'm doing is enough to support a kid, because, the whole getting paid months at a time and stuff. I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So I got to figure something out. I need something more consistent. And yeah, from there, when I was trying to find something more consistent, that's when I came across the news industry. They do the same work. They do the same motion graphics. It's just for news stations. So at that time, that's when I got the job at Tegna Incorporated. The company Tegna, it's based in Virginia in the DC area, but the graphics department happened to be in Denver, the graphics office of that company. So I just kind of took that opportunity and started working in the news, and it's just what I said, it's more consistent. It's more of a consistent paycheck and stuff, especially with having a kid to support and stuff. So.
And you were only there for 2 years until you received an Emmy Award. What was that experience like?
Well, yeah, it was great, and that's what I liked about working in the news industry, because the awards are more directed towards you. When I was working on movies, yeah, the movies get awards, but you don't get recognized for it individually. I'm one of like 400 people that does the special effects. So, if they won an Oscar, we wouldn't get one, only like the important people would get one, so. And it was kind of a breath of fresh air when I worked in the news industry. And then when I started getting awards, they were awards that had my name on it, like, and stuff. So I was like, oh, this is what it feels like, you know.
And it's a great feeling. So for our audience who are listening and watching via YouTube, can you describe your process of work? Like, what's a day in the life? How do you get through your work assignments?
Oh, okay. Well, are you talking about like what I'm doing now or what I was doing? Okay.
Yeah.
So now, so basically at the job now, it is day to day. I work during the week, but basically I have to design work for 60 news stations across the country. So when you're doing design work for 60 news stations, you know, it's pretty much nonstop and it's like pretty fast. It's a fast-paced environment. So an average day I would get a request from the news station in Atlanta saying they need to talk about whatever, the election or the that Senate runoff or something like that, you know. So I have to make like either like a bar chart or something, you know, something with the candidates or like some type of stat or whatever. You know, then the new station in DC saying, hey, we need something based on, I don't know, cost of living, you know. So I would need to, you know, animate a graphic that, you know, shows like stats on cost of living. And then I would get a request from station in St. Louis saying they need to talk about, you know, the streets or something. And I would have to make something based on that. For the fact that like I said, it's like a full day every day. And it's pretty fast paced, but yeah, I'm just like doing graphics for each station and day to day. But then there's like certain times where I'm selected to do certain things, like if Black History Month is coming up, or if something like Juneteenth or a holiday or something, they would want me to create like the theme and package for that. And so all the stations would use that as their theme when they're broadcasting their news. So most recently I did the package for Black History Month, and it was shown at like all the news stations across the country. So it's like,
oh man, I didn't know. I'm learning, and you see, I'm just hanging off on every word. This is so cool that you're doing that now. So can you share the tools that you use, or any type of computer programs that help you create?
Yes. So when you're working in motion graphics, pretty much all the software all around is the same. It's the same software that I was using when I was working on the TV network. So the main motion graphic software is called Adobe After Effects. That's basically your go-to in making motion graphics. If you need to do like 3D work or anything tied to motion graphics, the go-to is software called Cinema 4D. And that software is used all around and every part of the industry as well. When I was working in visual effects, that's when it's like they have more particular softwares, you know, to do certain things. Like if I were to do like green screen or blue screen work and stuff, the software that they kind of use majority of the time is called Nuke. That's unless a particular studio has their own software, which you would have to learn, but all around the main software is like Nuke. And then there's other times where I have to do like it's called a simulation or a effects simulation. So I would have to like make either like a tornado or a explosion or a dust storm or, you know, real intense thing like a building collapsing or something like that. Then we would use like a particular software called Houdini, which specializes in making like natural like disasters type thing, you know. So yeah, it's like depending on what you're doing, you would use like particular software and stuff. But yeah.
Good deal. As we're about to go to the next segment, I do want to ask you, did you have any particular professional goals that you want to aspire to? I know you have won the Emmy Award, so that's fantastic, but do you have more professional goals that you'd like to aspire to have?
So one particular goal that I want to do is I call it being the Black George Lucas. You know, I kind of want my own studio, and I want to focus on creating Black films, but more on the sci-fi, you know, more on the superhero type genre, you know, like I would say doing something like Tyler Perry, but you know, Tyler Perry is focused on, you know, what he's focused on, like that gospel drama, you know, he doesn't expand beyond that. But me, I want to focus on, you know, doing like more of the sci-fi genre and, you know, comics and stuff, because you know, that genre, it's not really showcased as much in the Black, you know, films, you know. I mean, yeah, it's like when you watch Black films now, of course, there's like romance, there's drama, there's comedy, you know, that's like all day, you know, but you don't see much, you know, in the sci-fi realm. And I figured me having that experience in Hollywood, it would be able to I'll be able to utilize the skills that I learned and kind of, you know, develop that kind of platform.
And as you have this goal, which is a fantastic goal to have, are there a few artists that you would like to work with? Like 3 or so artists that you would like to work with as you move closer to this goal?
Well, it's very interesting because you know, there were a lot of like Hollywood actors, like Black actors that I happened to run across, you know, either knowing them through, you know, either as fraternity brothers or something, you know. And every time I talk about that plan, they're like their eyes are like wide open about it. They're like they really want to kind of see that come to fruition. But I'm, you know, my whole thing is whoever has the passion and whoever wants to, you know, get involved like that, yeah, that's who I want to work with, you know.
And as you just mentioned your fraternity, I would be remiss not to allow you to speak on this. So please share with us your fraternity and any roles or tell us about it.
I am a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. I've been a member for I think 17 years. And yeah, and since then I've been currently active. I work as a chapter officer and a regional officer. Basically, you know, as the like IT and communications chairman, where I handle like their communication, their websites and their media and stuff. And yeah, I've been doing that for so long. But that was like my duty to serve, you know. So yeah.
Excellent. And as someone from the Crimson and Cream family, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Just want to make sure we allow space to spotlight this fraternity that you do service with. So as we're moving to the last segment, I'm going to ask you a couple of quick answer questions. Well, some of them a quick answer and others, it may have you wondering, like, how do I answer this? But it's just rapid response for the audience to get to know you even better. So are you ready?
Nope.
All right. Dogs or cats?
I had both. So I can't.
You're a dog and cat man.
Yeah, I had a dog and a cat.
Yeah, you are in the rare minority. That's cool.
Right.
What would you prefer, a window or an aisle seat?
Window.
Okay. What book would you give as a gift?
Oh, book. Oh, The Four Agreements by I think it's Miguel Ruiz. That Yeah.
What movie could you not resist if it came on right now to watch it?
Rockies, the Rocky movies.
Okay, we're watching all the Rockies movie. What is your favorite recipe to cook?
Mac and cheese.
For a 4-year-old son, I'm sure that is an awesome dish to eat.
Not the craft stuff, the actual authentic stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, the put it in the oven with some cheese. Okay, yes.
Exactly.
All right, get down with the mac and cheese, the homemade. I love it. What would be your favorite word? What is your favorite word?
I would say unique.
Okay. What makes you laugh the most?
Oh, what makes me laugh the most? Comedies, sketch comedies, you know, in Living Color, man. I used to watch the Living Color when it used to come on, and it used to just have me dying laughing. Like, I don't know about it. It was just I would laugh so hard, like watching sketch comedy, you know. Yeah.
Love that. What would be your theme song or like ring entrance song if you walk into a room? What music introduces you?
Which one would introduce me? Crap, I had it too. Okay, so I'll go with the most recent one. So there's this new album by Kid Cudi, and it's based on a movie he actually produced, called Intergalactic. But there's this one song on there called New Mode, and he basically, I'm at the stage in my life where I'm like, you know, I'm just becoming a new me, making changes, like trying to improve on life, improve on everything. And this song talks about that. Like, I'm just doing something new. I'm being a new me, like I said, I'm in the new mode, So that song, I would say that's my theme song right now.
Okay. If you could choose one superpower, what would it be?
My superpower would be to slow down time.
Especially
not stop time, just slow it down, because one thing about me, I'm not that good of making instant decisions on an instant. I need time to think about it, otherwise I'll make the wrong decision. So yeah,
I understand it. I completely understand it. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be?
Well, right now, I'm going based on now, is that one thing I changed myself is that I would not be tired all the time. I wish I had more energy so I could get more stuff done.
Yeah, having a 4-year-old, your energy is a little lacking, but it's okay because that phase, he'll grow out of it. He'll grow out of it. If you could think of the word successful, okay, who is the first person that comes to mind?
One person that comes to mind is his name is Robert Smith. Robert Smith is from my hometown. He went to my high school, but he's like one of the few Black billionaires in the world. And he like his wealth is mainly from investing in technology companies and stuff like that. And that's, yeah, I would say if it's one person successful, I would say that,
Okay, Robert Smith. And as we are winding down to our last segment, can you share with our audience, those who would be interested in following your footsteps, some piece of advice that was given to you that you would like to share with listeners?
I would just say, just from learning experience, follow your passion. I mean, just follow it. Don't worry about if it's going to make you any money or nothing like that. Just, if there's something you want to do it, because it's a big difference in how you feel, and you know, if you work and do something that you love, there's like, no, it does not feel like work. It does not feel like you will have peace of mind, you won't have stress, and do that as soon as you're able to. Like I said, don't worry about the obstacle, just jump into it. Just take that leap. And that's what I can say based on experience.
Wonderful. What projects are you looking forward to in the future?
I am looking forward into getting involved in more independent films, series based on the genre that I was talking to you about earlier. There's a couple of things lined up. There's like a series coming up, there's an animated series coming up, but they focus on all Black and sci-fi, mythological stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, in the future I'm gonna try to invest in those things, and hopefully those turn out good and they'll be able to be seen all over. So
I feel that. So would you like to give any shout outs, or I call it like love outs, to those who have been supportive of you on this journey you're on?
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, I would like first, shout out my family, like all my relatives, especially him. He's the motivation all day. Like to shout out my circle of best friends from college. We have a nickname for ourselves. We call them the Joint Chiefs. And we were a group of people that came from all backgrounds. We came from different places. We did different fields. We were even in different fraternities, but we're all like tight like glue. So, and they've been a motivation for me, pushing forward. And yeah, I mean, I just everybody who's been like a support system, like teachers, schools. I mean, everybody. It's just a lot of people.
And the last question of the day: how can people follow you or learn more about you on social media?
Okay, so I actually have my own website, and the website is www.gcrowell-fx.com. And you can just go there and it links to all my social media, and it shows all the work that I've done over the years. And yeah, if you follow me at that website, then yeah, you'll be able to access everything else.
Awesome. Well, we have come to the end of today's spotlight for this artist. If this podcast has helped you, please share. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to Dream of Drea across all social media platforms. My name is Drea of Dream of Drea, a production company specializing in driving ideas from pages to stages and from your dreams to screens. Remember, wherever you are right now is the perfect time to act on your dreams. Thanks again to Geoffrey Crowell. If I make sure I get that right. And we look forward to hearing you, audience, next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.